It's the holidays, and that means Junior's coming home from college, and he's a drunk. He's a drug addict. He's a user and abuser. How do you deal with that in your home in a Christian way? We'll talk about it.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started in here.
Welcome to The View from a Pew, a conversation among Christians who are out to grow their faith by asking the simple questions, the tough questions, and the stuff you really wish your pastor would talk about. Come on now, let's reason together. It's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so join the conversation. Call 855-244-0077. That's 855-244-0077. Now, here's your host, J. Michael McCoy.
4 minutes after the hour, and it is that kind of day. You know, the holiday season are here. Third week of Advent. Maybe you've already had your Christmas. You've had Thanksgiving. Did Junior come home and you discovered that he has an addiction problem? Did you have to deal with family members and fellows in your family that causes you hurts, habits, and hang-ups? Well, Joe Mites from St. Gregory's in the house today as it's Recovery Monday, and we're trying to work with some of that stuff. You know, we don't deal just with alcohol or drugs, even though we talk a lot about that, because at the center of almost all fear and pain is addiction. Or maybe I should say at the center of addiction is fear and pain. You know, people don't abuse drugs because they want to. And I think Hollywood has made it so, they've glamorized it so that people want to be drunk all the time. People want to be high all the time. People want to misuse prescriptions. They might in the beginning. It might be fun to smoke a doobie under the bridge with your buddy and laugh at girls in the bar when you drink too much beer and you know, take that pill that mom's got or dad's got or grandma's got in the medicine cabinet because then you don't have to deal with them when you're over there. That may start out as fun, but very quickly life spirals down to almost the most pain and anguish and fear that you've ever felt. Joe Mites from St. Gregory's in here. Do your phone numbers, phone lines just go crazy at this time of year?
You know, sometimes they do, but the most unfortunate part about this time of year is all of those familial dynamic ramifications come into play when the holidays arise. Yeah. So basically what I'm saying when I throw ridiculously big words that even I don't understand into the mix is all of those fears about is Aunt Judy going to find out how far my son has fallen? Yeah. Is my son going to show up? How do we deal with having all the family in town and dealing with him at the same time? All of those things really create a perfect storm, and it's the most anxiety-ridden time that you're really going to come across when we're dealing with addictions, especially just as it relates to that family dynamic. And so what we see is a lot of times things really pick up in November. As soon as December comes around and it's time to handle all those other obligations, it's like anything. We want to leave aside the things that are most difficult to confront. We've got all kinds of other excuses to find opportunities to stay busy with things aside from dealing with an addiction. And that's typically what happens. And so right about now, everything will start slowing down. And people are just trying to get through the holidays. They think, well, why would we confront this right now? We couldn't possibly have someone leave and go to treatment for the holidays. And one of the reasons why this is the biggest concern for us is because it's right after the holidays where we start getting the letters. Unfortunately, not to be, a buzzkill, but this is coming up as the time where we start getting the letters from people saying, we wish we'd have done something. He didn't make it through the holidays. We talk on this show a lot about how difficult it is, when you're abusing drugs, you're abusing alcohol, and you show up at home and you're around people that you know are living this moral path that you've strayed from, that you still at heart and at bottom believe to be correct, but you're not doing it and you know that. It's It's really, really painful to be around people that are. Times 100 when we talk about family gatherings for Christmas. Christmas is about family. And when you know that you're really kind of you have put yourself in the position of black sheep, you feel really, really bad about it.
I thought Christmas was about specials at Walmart.
Oh, yeah. That is the day after Thanksgiving. Well, it's actually Thanksgiving night now, and that lasts through Cyber Monday. And then...
Yeah. I've always heard... Joe Meintz is with us from St. Gregory's, Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, and Father Sour guy. I was going to say something else.
What did I just get my name changed to?
Nice to see you. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
I heard in a book club meeting of mine once that resentments, that family is a petri dish for resentments.
You got it.
Yeah,
you got it. That's that's probably the biggest reason why a professional intervention is usually recommended when it's a big family affair, because you really hit on something that's a big deal. One thing that you learn how to do very, very well as an addict is to push the right buttons with people in your family or people in your care group to make sure that it's not about you anymore. And everybody ends up defensive, and everybody ends up trying to bicker amongst themselves, and the last thing that they're thinking about anymore is getting this guy help. That's what you get really, really good at, and it just seems to explode when we're talking about all the family coming together for Christmas. And it's just such a difficult time.
And for those of you that have family that exists more than you and the cat and the dog, you know what I'm talking about. There is that person. It's Uncle Bob. It's Aunt Sally. It's your little brother. It's your big sister. It's your sister-in-law or your brother-in-law. Those are the worst.
The worst.
Because you really, they got an axe to grind with you 10 ways to Sunday because they're not really family.
Right.
How do you deal with it? The first thing I tell you to do is pray. The last thing I tell you to do is pray. And you don't want to worry about it, so you need some tools, okay? You need some tools in the toolbox on how to do that. And I would say the first one is take away your choice to be offended. Don't go there. I don't know why people can't understand that, Joe. People choose to be offended.
Yeah.
Offense is not something I throw on you like a cup of water.
Yeah.
Offense is something you grab in a catcher's mitt and hold it right next to your heart and say, now you've offended me. Because we easily offend our family members.
Sure do. And we do that clear-headed and as Christ-like as we possibly can. We're still great at offending people, and we're just not very good at being very good people. And when you throw an addiction into the mix, that's when it really just goes downhill fast. But I got to tell you that you really do, because families know, the whole family knows what's coming. All of them are dreading getting together. They're dreading what's going to happen because it happens every year, and it's this big deal. This is a much bigger opportunity than people realize, because it's right after Christmas where we have our best stories.
You're not speaking from experience, are you? I'm just, you sound like you really know that, this is the fact.
Well, let me tell you this. I know I found myself in treatment on December 28th, 10 years ago this year.
Really? And was that pressure from mom and dad?
Initially, yeah. But what it really came down to, because I'll tell you, I was the worst. I'd never show up. And if I did, I was there to steal your money so I could get out of there early and go live out the life that I really thought I ought to be living. It was horrible. And my whole family hated the holidays. They were so embarrassed. Even extended family that would show up, they were embarrassed for my parents. They were embarrassed for me. I was an idiot. The things that I would do to people who, it's not like I didn't like them at the time. I loved them with all my heart. It's just I was an addict, and I was going to find a way to ruin your day. Yeah. And that's exactly what I did. And so everybody knew that this was coming every year. It was the family joke. Let's see how Joe does this year. They were right. I usually up the ante every year. Wow. And there came that last year where they said, look, obviously this isn't going well. If you want some help, we're willing to help you. And, at the time, this was well before, it was the beginning of November when they first brought this up. And I was pretty high, so I thought I was really going to get one over on them. And I said, you know what? You bet. I'll give myself a good 6 months, so I'll go after Christmas. And by then, this whole thing will be blown over. As soon as I sobered up, I realized it was almost Thanksgiving already, and I hadn't done as good of a job as I thought that I had. But, it was such a peace that came over knowing that I'm actually going to do this thing. I'd kind of resolved to doing it.
Inside, were you being genuine?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not at that time. Not at that time, but throughout that next month and a half,
okay.
I kind of warmed up to the idea, and I knew, frankly, I'd look around. I knew that I was never going to be able to get married, not because I couldn't find somebody to marry, but because I couldn't have afforded them a ring to save my life anyway, even if it was out of a Cracker Jack box. I mean, Cracker Jacks cost money that I could just spend on meth.
Right.
It just wasn't going to happen. None of the things that I had hoped might happen someday, I knew all of those weren't really real, and that I really wouldn't ever actually be able to do them. And it was just kind of this last-ditch effort of, fine, I'll go. At the very least, it'll look like I'm trying.
Did they hire a professional interventionist?
Yeah, for the first couple times. That didn't work. Both times I had too much money in my pocket and I wasn't going nowhere. Okay. But they weren't very good interventionists, really. Okay. It was I was a very, very good addict.
Sure.
I was
liars.
I was awesome at it.
Liars. We are the best liars in the world because our conscience is a bottle or a drug or a pill or a toke. There's nobody to answer to. There's nobody that's going to tell us anything, but we're awesome when we're high.
Yep, you got it. But I'll tell you what really made that Christmas actually, what brought the most peace was there wasn't any hiding it. My family didn't do that thing where they're, kind of hush hush. Oh, he's going to go off and, go to treatment after this. They made darn well sure that everybody knew that it's like, look, life sucks for him today. He's going to go get help. And it was odd how many of my family supported it. And were just
they went
open
out of your
about
way
it.
to tell you.
They did.
Yeah.
And the ones that didn't, handled it very, very well. I mean, it wasn't this thing where I had to be like this center of attention or something like that. Everybody they knew, and they'd be like, hey, good luck. And okay, I can deal with.
What do you think they were saying under their breath?
Oh, I don't know. I was too busy with my hands in their purse to pay too much attention to everything. But, it was, the moral of the story is when you've got your family members together, that's when you want to do something about this.
Right.
Have some support of people that actually love you. Stop hiding it. The worst thing that there is when, it's almost always it's mom and dad try to make sure that nobody else knows. Well, I got news for you. Everybody knows. I've yet to meet a circumstance where not everybody already knew. You're not hiding anything.
Right.
Get some support where you have support, for crying out loud. And during the holiday season, that's when support's coming to you or you're going to them. Utilize it. Really lean on each other as a family, because that's the whole purpose of recovery. It's not about to be sober. It's to help somebody regain their position to do what was purposed for them. That's the point of being sober.
God-given purpose on earth.
You got it.
So what I hear you say, and we're up against our first break, and we'll talk about this when we come back. So what I hear you saying, I don't want to put words in your mouth, is that we should use the excuse of the holidays, that during that time families are going to assemble to do an intervention.
You got it.
Wow. I wouldn't have guessed that. But we'll talk about that when we come back. Joe Mines is in the house from St. Gregory's Recovery Center, Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat, and the incurable Father Tattoo in the producer's booth. And we'll be back. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you, thanks for watching and thanks for listening. I love this job, and I couldn't do it without you right here at webcastonelive.com. And 99.3, this is KTIA, Iowa.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
The dawn of a new era begins.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker-owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Have you ever been told you're not a good enough Christian? Well, we have too. Join the conversation. Call 855-244-0077. Now here's your host, president of the Not a Good Enough Christian Club, J. Michael McCoy.
21 minutes after the hour. Coming up tomorrow, Pastor Paul Porter. He's just one of my favorite guys. He's from the Van Meter Baptist Church. He's going to be in, and we're going to be having some fun. On Wednesday, Tom Coates and a little politicking. On Thursday, I'm going to introduce you to some superstars. They're putting a play on at Federated Church called The Boys Are Back in Town with Jason Brown. You may know Jason is a very successful country singer from Des Moines. He's in it. And then the second half of the show is a young lady by the name of Jessica Lee Shirk. And she is she's a spoken word performer. And I would call that a rapper, but when you listen to her music, it's not really rap. It's Christian spoken word singing. It was recorded in Uganda with some Ugandians. And anyway, some really super music. And then on Friday, Pastor Wayne Larson, who is a wonderful Calvinist, and we're going to have some conversations on Arminianism. Say it. Arminianism and Calvinism.
Is that what you guys are talking about?
As of right now, I think so.
Okay.
All right, so that's coming up for the week. All right, my guest today, of course, is Recovery Monday, so that means I've got the incredible Mr. Joe Meintz in the house from St. Gregory's, and I am shocked. I can't believe you said that the holidays is a perfect time for an intervention.
You bet.
I would think that's mom doesn't want to have anything to do with it.
Yep.
She wants peace in the family. She doesn't want all the trouble.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Mom doesn't want to have anything to do with it. She
Okay.
wants peace in the family. She doesn't want all the trouble. The problem is that if somebody's struggling with an addiction over the holidays, you're going to get trouble. You know it's coming. And that's really the hardest thing that, we've got so many people that we've spoken with over the holiday seasons through the years that if we talked a little bit about this last week. Or maybe it was a couple of weeks ago, I can't remember. But we talked about the most dangerous times for somebody with overdose risk. One of the times that I had mentioned was right before treatment.
Okay.
One of the reasons why that's the case is because, I was lucky. I mean, I had a huge support system around me, knew it was coming. I was able to come to peace with it beforehand. Those people.
Did your consumption accelerate?
At the time, for me, it didn't, but that's because I was broke.
Okay.
It would have,
Right.
but and that's another thing. The reason why that's such a dangerous time is because when somebody knows that there's a change coming, there's a lot of stress.
Yeah.
Especially if it's confronting their life and confronting an addiction. It's not much less stressful knowing they're going to have to confront their family over the holidays. Even those times when they don't show up, it's really easy to get this image in your head that, well, he's not showing up because he's out partying. No, he's not. He's out trying to avoid the family because he knows how bad it feels, and he's out using as much as he can to try to make that go away. It's an extremely dangerous time.
Had you had a consistent stream of revenue in your life, would you have gone into treatment?
Yeah. Yeah.
All
I mean,
so you were ready to surrender.
No, I wasn't ready to surrender. I wasn't in a place to really work all that out. I wouldn't have even been able to tell you what that might mean at the time. What I did know is that I hated life. I mean, every waking minute was horrible. The only things that you ever think about are how much money do I have? Who's selling? Who's buying? How do I maintain this for another day? That's it. People in the rooms talk about day by day. Well, when you're on meth, it's every half hour by half hour.
Wow.
It's a crazy, crazy life.
Back then, 10 years ago, what was the cost of a meth habit on a day-to-day basis?
For an average fella, probably $100 a day. For me, it's closer to $400 or $500 a day.
How much would that be today in today's money?
It's pretty similar. I don't think prices have changed much. So,
$500 a day.
Yeah.
And you had no employment.
My dad owns a construction company. And when I'd show up, I'd screw up and he'd fire me, and then Mom would make him hire me back. I got Canmore and tuna for a while there. I was hired and fired 3 or 4 times in a week sometimes.
Okay.
But, never enough to make any money. But you don't need a job to make money when you're using drugs.
Because you'd buy and then sell.
I'd buy and sold. I was a manufacturer for 3 years.
Really? You made it?
Yeah. I tell you what.
Bathtub?
I was as bad as you could possibly imagine.
Were you a bathtub? Did you make it in the bathtub?
No. I was the guy out at the abandoned farm making it out there. So,
Really?
Dan Hedges.
Yep. So.
Yeah, meth is a drug that I've never had any experience with, and I know I'm going to probably say this very naively. I've never known anybody who is crazy enough to take. Dan, do you take meth?
Now?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so I don't have anybody in my life crazy enough that they would be using meth.
Yeah.
And so I've never experienced that. But when I hear about what it takes to manufacture it, it's so dangerous.
Yeah.
And to assemble the different pieces is so dangerous, and if you get caught, it's a felony, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Did you steal those white tanks from fertilizer places to get the ammonia?
You bet.
Really?
Whole 9 yards.
And then you'd hide them out on the abandoned farm.
You bet. We had a guy at one farm that dug a hole. We stole a trailer with 2 of those huge double tanks on it.
Okay.
And buried him in a hole about as deep as a house.
Wow.
It was.
Boy, he's hardcore.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, it was a crazy, crazy life.
And this was in Fort Dodge?
Clear Lake.
Clear Lake.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know this is going to be such a naive question.
Throw them out.
There were enough people in Clear Lake to support that type of meth use or production?
Oh, yeah. You know, but you don't just stay there. I mean, there's guys that were running in and out from Minnesota and Arizona and Mexico even, and from all over the country.
Do you measure it in pounds or ounces? Whatever?
Grams.
Grams.
Yeah.
How many grams in an ounce? 16?
29.
Seriously? 29 ounces?
29 grams.
29 grams in an ounce. And how many ounces in a pound? 16. Okay. So how many pounds of meth did you make for 3 years?
No.
I mean, did you make a pound a week?
No, I didn't need to make that much. You know, and frankly, you know, the odd thing that a lot of people don't understand about the guys that are out making their own meth, it's usually not for sale. You know, that's not why I did it.
Yeah.
I did it because I didn't want to be at the dealer's house. The only way that I knew how to survive was if I had enough meth to function. If I didn't have meth, I couldn't get out of bed.
Okay.
I mean, I couldn't have made a sandwich. You know, I had to have meth to function at all.
Is that the same as an alcoholic getting up in the morning and needing a drink to function? Because I was not that type of alcoholic.
You know, no. You know, kind of, just in a different way.
Okay.
You know, but I just had, you know, my body wasn't producing any of its own energy anymore. You know, I mean, you got to understand. I mean, for me, it got to the point where I would go 2 to 3 weeks without a wink of sleep. So yeah, you don't have a whole lot to run on unless you've got that white stuff.
That's just incredible.
Yeah.
And how many? I'm sorry about all the questions. I want to understand.
And it's probably an important thing to talk about because, you know, frankly, there's this idea that once you've been there, you can never come back and that you can't be happy again. I've never, ever been able to imagine being as fulfilled and to have joy that I do. This idea that once you've been there, you're ruined. Take a look.
It's not true.
It's not true.
Yeah. There's all the joy and happiness and God's love once you get out of that mess.
You got it. I mean,
but you can't see it when you're in the middle of it.
You can't see it when you're in the middle of it.
All right, Joe Meintz is our guest today. I don't know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get on such a personal conversation.
No. I was going to say it's probably, you know, time we had it and an important one. So
well, I just, you know, it shocks me when you told me the topic of our conversation today ought to be that the holidays are a great time to do an intervention. I thought for sure you were Grinch. You know, what a way to spoil a holiday. Because I mean, if you got 10 interventions, how many of them go well? How many of them the person surrenders and goes to treatment?
Oh,
9?
At least, sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, interventions are incredibly successful.
Okay.
You know, if
but
done
you have
well,
to use a professional.
Use a professional.
This is not for smart aleck big brother who thinks he knows it all and he's watched it on TV and he took a course from the Walgreens School of Pharmacy. He thinks he knows how to do it.
Unless you're Italian. For whatever reason, a lot of times Italians, they get their whole 20,000 person family together and they toss somebody in the car and drag them in. And, you know, it's those seem to work.
All right. Now, work prior to the intervention is to obviously contact a recovery center like St. Gregory's and make the arrangements.
Yeah.
What comes first? To find the interventionist and then they help find the center, or you find the center and they help you find an interventionist?
You know, I almost always finding the center. And the reason is because interventionists are trained differently. And each center is going to usually, if they don't have someone on staff, then they work really closely with specific intervention agencies. You know, I don't like the idea of going to an interventionist first because honestly, it's kind of a willy-nilly field. There's no great certification. You know, it doesn't take much to throw a shingle out and say you're an interventionist. So that gets a little dangerous. A recovery center is at least going to, really have the background and know who is a qualified individual. And also, each center is different. It's important to use an interventionist that's familiar with the type and methodology of treatment that is going to be performed at that center. It has to be one streamlined, cohesive process of changing thought. And the thought pattern and understanding of that from the interventionist needs to coincide with that of the treatment center.
Okay. Now, all right, you just said something that surprised me. So, do you pick a treatment center because of the ailment, because of the disease, because of the addiction that you have? I mean, I know that if it's alcohol, drugs, or prescription, St. Gregory's is good. Mm-hmm. Are there places that I wouldn't go to if I was a drunk, or places I wouldn't go to if I was a meth addict?
Yeah. There are a lot of centers that specialize in certain things. But I'll tell you, the biggest component of choosing a recovery program is which one is really operating off of a standpoint that you believe. Obviously you and I have some different concepts of what recovery might look like.
Right. Yeah.
Or at least that process.
Yeah, I'm a 12-step person.
Yep.
You are not.
Right. Some people are going to inherently connect and relate with the notion of the 12 steps. Some are not. Don't try to fit a round peg in a square hole.
Sure.
So that's really the biggest issue. People want to talk about, success rates and all of those things, and that's very important. You want to find somebody who's really gone through the quality metrics and, is really accountable to the, organizational standards and those things. But at the end of the day, the thing that makes the most difference is, are they saying something that I buy into or not?
How do you find an interventionist that best fits your family? Joe Mines from St. Gregory's is in the house. We'll talk about that when we come back live here on The Truth. 99.3, this is KTIA Iowa, powered by WebcastOneLive.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
If you choose to obey the power of sin, it leads to death. If you choose to obey obedience, it leads to righteousness.
Forgiveness is just the beginning of life in Christ. God wants us to live for Him now.
And because of Jesus Christ, the gospel was preached, and you and I are blessed today because of Abraham. Did you know that? We're blessed.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
you sit in the back pew or the front pew. It's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
3:38, 22 before the top, and we have, of course, Salem Radio Network news at the top of the hour, and then we go to Michael Mudloff, Pastor Michael Mudloff, hosting the show True Blue. My guest today is Joe Mines from St. Gregory's, and he just shocked me when he told me today that the topic was why the holidays is a perfect time to put your loved one through treatment. Because to do that, you got to bring up all the ugliness, and the family has to get together. And yes, it can be the happiest gift of the holiday, but getting to there can be so unbelievably stressful because obviously not everybody is going to be in full agreement. Now, I watch the television show Intervention, so yeah. I don't have all the information.
Yeah,
I'm a quarterback on the couch. What do they call those? Couch quarterbacks. No, anyway.
Yeah.
Everybody always has to say how your disease has impacted my life, and that if you don't go seek treatment, this is how our relationship will change, which usually translates to you're out of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the way it really is?
Well, definitely wasn't with me because I never called it a disease. But well, no, it's not you're out of my life. The biggest issue when it comes down to those are what's called bottom lines.
Okay.
And very rarely does an intervention ever come to that. A well-done intervention from a point of love rarely comes to that. Sometimes it does. But the biggest issue, if it does come down to those bottom lines, those are going to be dictated by a person's individual relationship with them. And they better be something that you're actually going to follow through with. Because I can't tell you how many times I've seen someone say, look, you either get some help or don't call again. I swear I'll never pick up the phone. Well, the next day they do. Well, guess what else is thrown out the window too?
Right.
This whole idea that you have to do something.
Right.
It really comes down to a family standing their ground as far as their own spiritual and emotional health, for one. They can't live with this anymore either. And that's a lot of what those bottom lines are for. It's not even for, that person who's struggling with addiction. A lot of times those bottom lines really are for the perspective of how am I going to stay sane even if you want to stay an addict. So that's where those have to come in. But the biggest issue is people are usually, and this is what always surprised me, people are usually so overwhelmed with the fact that there's that many people that really do love them. And to actually hear about how somebody loves you is a really powerful thing.
Yeah, I agree.
You never really think of that. You probably have a lot of acquaintances in life, or much deeper than acquaintances, but it's pretty rare where you actually do communicate to someone just what they mean. For somebody who's that low, to hear people that really do care about them honestly communicate just how much, it's a really amazing thing. And it's extremely emotional. It's stressful leading up to that point. But I've seen some of the most amazing things in life come out of that process of intervention. It's very surprising. But, the big thing is especially as it pertains to the holiday season, I mean, stress is there. It's as much stress as there is on you. There's at least that much stress on the guy who's out there using and doesn't know how to face his family again this year.
Yeah.
Doesn't know if he's going to get enough dope to be able to even show up. Doesn't know how he's going to face people if he does get enough dope to even show up. It's terrifying. It's not like anybody gets to get out of any stress by pretending it doesn't exist. It's going to happen.
And I sit here and I listen to Joe talking about this, and I'm sorry, it's not magical. I can hear what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, that's on TV. That's not. I don't know any families that are that way. You know that you do. You probably know 8 families that are that way. And if you belong to a big church and you work in a big office building where there's lots of people, you might know 80 families that are that way. There are families facing crisis and stress and frustration and anxiety like you have no idea in the next coming 2 or 3 weeks. And everything that Joe describes is actually a part of the dynamics of so many families. Oh, I don't have, nobody in my family uses meth. I don't even know anybody who does use meth. Okay, I'll give you that. How about prescription drugs? No, we don't do that. You know, now Bob drinks a little too much, but that's Bob. I mean, he's an in-law. He's not one of us. He's not blood. My silly cousin Sally married him. So we're not like that. You are now, because Bob's there. And what Bob's doing is affecting Sally. And what Bob and Sally are going through, their kids are affected by. And if those kids are affected by, your kids are affected by it because they're cousins. And now all of a sudden the whole family's involved because Uncle Bob drinks too much. You understand? This is why we do this show. We are not actors. I'm not paid enough money in the world to say, hi, my name is Mac and I'm an alcoholic. Joe doesn't get paid enough money to tell you about what he did to his family and the laws that he broke and the lives that he helped destroy. There's not enough money. There's no fame in that. There's no Lindsay Lohan here. We share this on this show because we found the light. Now, the light is a Christ-centered world. The light is finding out what your Creator had in mind for you all along. See, God doesn't have plan B. He has plan A, and you mess it up. Alcohol doesn't mess it up. Drugs don't mess it up. Bad marriages don't mess it up. Failed schoolings, failed jobs, failed expectations don't mess it up. The accuser messes it up when you take his hand and say, I'll try it your way. God, I'll be back in a minute. That's when the trouble starts. So we share these things with you on this program so that you know you have an outlet, a friend, hope. That if you're hiding, covering up for, God help you if you're enabling someone to live this type of life of addiction filled with hurts, habits, and hang-ups. I want you to know that you are so far from being alone. And you are so close to someone who has the answers. Joe's sitting right here. He sat in the middle of your family before. Oh, they weren't called the Smiths or the Joneses. They were the Kalopchis and the Bonos and the whatever your last name is. But he's been in the middle of your family. He hasn't watched television shows or the videotape series on how to be an interventionist via online for $19.95. Get your certificate now, but wait. Order right now and you'll get 2 certificates. That's not where Joe's been. Joe's been in the trenches. He really knows. We are so blessed to have someone like him to come on here and talk about this. So don't be shy and don't be embarrassed. Be bold. Be the child that God created you to be. Step up and put your hand out and help that family member that is 1 breath, 1 inch, 1 toke, 1 drink, 1 pill, 1 lie away from death. You think I'm kidding? Open the obituary page. There's somebody in today's obituary that died because of abuse. There was someone in last week's obituary because they died from abuse. Don't let your family member be one of those people. When we come back, 3 easy steps to get to somebody like Joe and change your family forever this Christmas. Live here on The View from a Pew, powered by WebcastOneLive.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
If you choose to obey the power of sin, it leads to death. If you choose to obey obedience, it leads to righteousness.
Forgiveness is just the beginning of life in Christ. God wants us to live for Him now.
And because of Jesus Christ, the gospel was preached, and you and I are blessed today because of Abraham. Did you know that? We're blessed.
Experience Truth, 99.3 FM.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
We're the ones in the pew, not pulpit. Come on now, let's reason together. The phone lines are open, so call 855-244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
All right, 10 before the top, Salem Radio Network News, and then True Blue, hosted by Pastor Michael Mudloff. That's your 4 o'clock hour coming up here. Tomorrow, Pastor Paul Porter. We look forward to him on Thursday. Some amazing performers here in Des Moines going to show us how Christian music industry is alive and well in Central Iowa. And then on Friday, the Calvinist Wayne Larson in the house as we talk a little bit about Calvinism and some of the stuff that's going on inside of that view of the Bible. It's not a different religion. It is just the way the Bible is perceived by someone, and those people are called Calvinists. And so we'll talk about that on Friday. Joe Meintz is here from St. Gregory's Recovery Center, and we told you that we were going to give you 3 easy steps, and I don't mean to sound like I'm what's that office supply state? Yeah, or Staples, just push yes. But there really are 3 easy things. First of all, you've done the first one. You've stayed engaged in this program. You have listened. You might have turned it off in the middle, but then the Holy Spirit led you to come back and turn it on. You might have yelled at Joe and I for most of the show, saying that, well, that's not me, or that's not my son, or that's not my daughter, or that's not my son-in-law, or that's not my grandson. But you've stayed engaged. Understand, it isn't because of what Joe said. It isn't because of what I said. It's because the Holy Spirit wanted you to keep listening. The second thing is for you to be still and pray that God gives you the strength to follow through on this. That God gives you the forgiveness in your heart without the resentments on the outside to really deal with some other family members, because there's going to be some family members and they're not going to be happy about this. Mm-hmm. It's going to be screwing up their Christmas. Mm-hmm. Okay. And the third one is to call somebody like Joe. Call St. Gregory's. They've got somebody in-house. Are you the only one?
We've got outsourced interventionists. We've got about every resource under the sun for you. So.
I mean, you may not like Joe. You may not like the sound of his voice. May not like the way he looks. I mean,
it's usually my big ears that gets people to shy away.
You're so dapper. I mean, you spend more money. I bet you spend more money on clothes now than you used to on meth.
No, I don't.
No, you don't.
Mac, you do remember this is a guy that showed up to the first 6 episodes wearing the same shirt.
That's right.
That's true, he did. But, places like St. Greg, and we've talked about this, St. Gregory's is not a 12-step. For those of you who knew about Uncle Bob and that he tried AA, and he tried it several times and he failed, AA didn't fail Uncle Bob. Uncle Bob failed Uncle Bob. People failed Uncle Bob. There are people that go to St. Gregory's that probably go back out and use again. St. Gregory's didn't fail. Those people failed. But I must tell you that in the program that St. Gregory's has, there is a better, what's the term, results than in most 12-step programs.
Yeah, I mean, we've got really amazing outcomes, but a big reason for those is we just approach it differently altogether. And what we especially find there's the majority of our clientele have been through treatment. Nothing works. We just approach it from an entirely different perspective. It's I can tell you this. It's the same. You can look at it the exact same way of somebody that was born in the church, was always a Christian. It took somebody or something to approach it a little bit differently with them, and all of a sudden you watch them catch on fire with it. It's the same kind of thing, It's you get used to hearing something a certain way, you buy into it, it's routine, you don't pay attention to it anymore until someone helps you look at it from a different perspective, and that's really what we do. And we boil it down to dumb and really get down to look. Who are you? What do you value, and how do we help you really use that?
And what did God create you to be?
You got it. You got it. I mean, it's always amazing. I mean, treatment can be so much easier than people think. Mm-hmm. It's exciting. I mean, it sounds weird, but it's really pretty exciting. It doesn't take very long once you start feeling better. But that's a big issue with us, is we want to help you feel really good as fast as possible. And within a few days, people start really feeling well. Now we can start talking about, let's start talking about a point B. And they're just like, I haven't considered a point B in 10 years, and it's a neat thing. So.
Well, one of the things you do is you have, and talk about the serum, the
serum.
Well, not what is, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, the IV therapy stuff. I mean, there's just so much more that we know about, how to help your body repair itself. First and foremost, just the hydration alone goes a million miles. But the first portion of our programming is really pretty heavily into the hydration, nutrition, health and wellness stuff. But in that, we use IV therapy. And it really serves, first of all, the hydration, nutrient therapy, and it's also there's a cocktail of amino acids in there, and amino acids are just the precursors that your body uses to produce neurotransmitters, the dopamine and the things that help your brain to feel good or feel calm, all of those things.
Oh, it's like going to Mako.
Right. It's just supplying your body with an overload of the things that it needs to repair itself and be well. And it's amazing how people really start to bounce back much quicker than they'd imagine.
So you had it today. I mean, here you go. I'm sorry to do this to you in December, but it has to be done. At some point, somebody's got to help Uncle Bob or little Johnny or Sister Sally or whoever it is. Maybe it's Grandma. But they need help, and that's what family's for. And your family's going to be together. Your family's going to be together, and this holiday season, make this the last drunken holiday season. Make this holiday season the last one where you wonder if Junior's coming home or not, and Dad's mad, and he's carrying resentments, and he starts to get growly about this time of year, and Mom gets kind of delightful and happy and whistles a lot because she knows her baby boy's coming home. Because she's got no idea what this disease is like, what this addiction's like. She just wants her little boy to come home. Make the call. Call St. Gregory's. Hook up with somebody like Joe and make this Christmas season the last Christmas season where your family is impacted by addiction. Give me a number for St. Gregory's, will you?
Best one is 888-778-5833.
One more time.
It's 888-778-5833.
Make sure you call and talk to them. You'll get put on a prayer list, which will get to me. And then I'll do the most important thing that I can do for you, for your brothers, your sisters, your siblings, for the babies yet born, for the family members you don't know yet, for the family that may be possible in the future because you pick up the phone, you call, and the rest of us does the only thing we can do. Pray.